Check, check. Good evening, everybody. Oh, man, so good to be back with you guys. How is everyone doing this fine evening? We're back with episode 9 of the video production helpline. So good to see you guys. We've got several people already in the chat. The first who showed up include James, Lighter Pro, Parker. We got Johan, Al, David, Tristan, Formidable Frank, awesome name, and of course the one and only Alex Miner. Good to see you guys as well as everyone else in here. We're back. Couple little things before we dive into your questions and whatever you want to talk about. I'm gonna do this stream for let's say 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Then I'm gonna be heading over to Jem Schofield's channel, and we're gonna be right here on Camera and Flask talking about really anything. Q&A. It's Jem's birthday. We're going to talk about our Wish camera challenge, which ought to be pretty interesting. I ordered 3 items from wish.com, and the other guys did as well. So we're going to see what actually came in the mail and if it's absolutely horrible or if it's something that's useful. So that's coming up. How are you guys doing? It's been a little bit. Got some exciting videos coming up next week. We're doing the A7S III guide. It's finally available, and I'm actually going to be releasing a Lut Pack for the first time, which I never thought I would do that, but it's not going to be what you think. It's not going to be like some crazy looks, creative LUTs. They're more technical LUTs to deal with some issues I've been having and just got sick of, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to deal with this and put together some LUTs. So that'll be interesting. So that'll be next week. Yeah. So I already saw there's a bunch of really good questions. We're going to dive in. So if you have questions, leave them in the chat and we will hit those now. So from the top, Tristan asked, do you think the A7R4 is a good backup for the FX3? I shoot both photo and video. Don't think the A7S III is a good photo cam. I think that's a great combination. If you're going to be shooting both, yes, totally. Preferably the next generation full frame would be good, just so you can have 10-bit across the board. So that's going to be tricky, but for now, I think that's a good way to go. Let's see here. Questions. BAT, B-A-T. Caleb, what do you think about the Sony G Master 51-2 as a main lens for talking head YouTube videos like the ones you do? I personally, and this is a personal preference thing, but I like 35. I've just always ended up back at 35, preferably full frame, which I imagine that's what you're using as well. 50 is a little long for me. You're going to need a bigger space, but if you want some creamy shot of depth of field, it's a great lens. It's a fantastic lens to go with. It's going to give you more compression. You're going to need more space to get a shot like you see me right here, or my main YouTube setup is a really wide shot. and that's going to need some space for that. So try it. You know, you definitely, if you have a 50 or a zoom you can test the 50 millimeter focal length with, that is something I would go with. All right. Yikes. We got some super chats. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. If I missed your question, I know there are a bunch at the very beginning, which was a couple minutes ago. Please repost those and we'll get to those. But first, we've got Emilio with a super chat of €5. Much love. So happy to see you live again. Thank you, man. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for the donation. And Alex Miner, you stinker, coming in with $9.99, your weekly bribe, sir. Thank you. You don't have to keep bribing me, my man. I would do this for free for you. But yeah, Alex has been with the channel forever. He's got a great channel too. You should check it out. And I took a break for a long time with live streams, so I think that's what the bribes are all about, is to keep this happening. All right. Astrid, just popping in, wanted to say your video's been a huge help for us at my day job. Really appreciate all the useful advice, wild setup, inspiration. Keep it coming. Thank you, Astrid. That's very kind of you. All right, so let's see here. We got right under that, Ariel. I did your perfect rig. Huge fan. Can you plug a D-tap charger into the plate and power the whole setup connected to the wall? I think that would work, you know, at least on paper. So I can't promise, you know, it might not necessarily be the safest thing. You might want to reach out to them if you can even reach out to them. But I think that would make sense because the voltage would just kind of flow through the whole setup, charge the battery, power your stuff. As long as everything connected to that plate, you know, is going to work with 14 point whatever volts or whatever your charger is. Make sure the charger, that has to match the voltage of your V-mount. Let's see. Oh, James, the Benjamin Moore paint you suggested on the last live stream, what is the finish that you used? Is it matte? No, I went with, oh geez, what is it? My wife is an interior designer, you know, has done multiple remodels and stuff, and I want to say shell. No, shell's not right, is it? Whatever's the medium, right? So you've got like super shiny, I can't remember the term for that. You've got medium and then matte. Matte is going to pick stuff up like crazy. If someone leans against the wall and they're wearing a tank top, there's going to be an oil mark, you know, no matter how clean that person is. So I would avoid matte. I would stick with kind of the middle of the road sheen. You don't want it super shiny, you don't want it super matte, or else it's going to get dark spots and stuff. At least that's my opinion, and maybe I'm totally wrong on that. But that's what I did. Let's see. Just fixed my old mini disc player. Between the one thing and another, ended up using it as a backup sound recording. Have you ever used an old tech to get you through? Maybe old tech, but just weird stuff, you know, like I've had all kinds of crazy adapter issues where I've forgotten some audio equipment, you know, back when I did production, and you get pretty funky making stuff work, but that's awesome. I love that. Apple now says my G5S is doing weird things. I don't know what, let me know what's going on there. BC Paul, I've been telling people not to buy LUTs for years, and now you're making me a liar. Well, we'll see. I'm really enjoying them. Essentially, I created these LUTs for the A7S III to do all the stuff I do anyway. Or not all, but most. The idea is it gets you 80% of the way there. And the problem is really just Sony's LUTs are not good. And taking their stock technical LUT, I just always was having issues with the A7S III. And the thing with these mirrorless cameras from Sony is they are not true S-Log and not true S-Gamut. So that's where the issue is. A lot of their cinema cameras, everything's fine. But these other cameras, they're doing something, and that something creates weird yellow stuff going on. Yellows look green, and all of that will be in upcoming content. Love the heavy metal music. Nice. Yep. Good stuff. Love that guitar licks. What are you using to streaming? I am using this Infinity Cam here. This is Ecamm Live. It's a Mac OS, I believe, only, but really amazing software. Just phenomenal. But OBS is great as well. Joel, I have a Canon SL2 with a kit lens, and I have 50mm 1.8. What budget lens should I get next? Okay, you got a kit lens, 50-1.8. Maybe try something wider that's fast, or an 85 is always fun. You could buy a used Canon 100mm. Their macro, that's a great lens. But I believe they make a, like, what is it, 28, 20, 28, and 35 that are more budget oriented. Those could be fun as well. So yeah, great question. And a super chat from Formidable Frank, $10. Caleb, I love to upgrade my A7 III to a 10-bit camera to accompany my FX3, and I'm having a hard time. I'm moving over to DaVinci as my primary NLE. Is Blackmagic better than Panasonic in terms of 10-bit value? I mean, Blackmagic, you can go 12-bit, which is great. I mean, if I were you, I would probably stick with Sony. Mixing cameras is really tricky. So if it was me, I'd try to do an A7S III, or preferably wait for a couple months until the A7 IV comes out. That might have 10-bit. Then you've got a great full-frame camera for, you know, $2,500, $2,000. Otherwise, I wouldn't say Blackmagic is better than Panasonic. It has more potential because you can do RAW, but if you're not going to do RAW and you like the smaller file sizes, excuse my phone, I should mute that, shouldn't I? Then yeah, that's kind of what I would go for. Okay, Apple now is back with all caps. My goodness, sir. GH5S giving me lines and highlights. Other than video, if you're doing slow motion, which is my guess, you're using the high frame rate mode, that's where you get really weird stuff. So try turning that off, see if the lines still exist. All right. At 1 million subs, release the Caleb cam. I'm not sure what that means. At 1 million subs, release the Caleb cam. A camera? I don't know. That'd be nice, but I don't think I'm that smart. Okay, I think I fried my A6500. This is from Tristan with a dummy battery. Yikes, into my V-mount battery. It's power cycling permanently. Ooh. So yeah, you need to, when you plug a V-mount into any camera, you need to make sure that whatever cable you're using, there needs to be a conversion between 14.4, whatever the voltage is with your V-mount, down to 8.4, 7.2, or whatever you need for your camera. Yeah. So hopefully that didn't happen, Tristan. I really hope not. Otherwise, you can try different battery stuff, try different batteries, try different power plugs, try different, plug it into USB, just try all the things. But man, I hope that's not the case. All right, scrolling down, eggshell finish is the finish he has. Okay, Josh, back me up there. Cool. So eggshell. Apparently that's medium. Let's see. Which B cam? This is I missed some stuff, guys. I think I'm good. Which B cam would you buy along with the GH5S? I shoot short film documentaries and commercials. Thanks, Caleb. Love your channel. Thank you, good sir. The GH5, you could go with the GH5. You could go with, oh boy, what is it? The Panasonic G9 could be a good option as well. I would stick with something that has Vlog though, for sure. Is the Canon 250D good enough for first short movie? Can you suggest a budget lens for it? I don't know much about the 250D. So if someone else in the chat is familiar with that, I think it'd help you out there. Recommendations for affordable light, same quality and power. The Aperture 120D Mark II. Is it worth saving up? At this point, honestly, I would say no. If you're in the ecosystem, the Aperture ecosystem, you like having, these remotes for everything, then maybe. But honestly, there's so many good options. I love Aperture, but there's a billion options. Godox has some fantastic lights. Just jump on Amazon or anywhere and search for COB video light. You're going to find tons of great stuff. So if I were you, I would have no problem and not feel bad at all about going out and buying 2, 3 cheaper lights for the same price. Just don't get something that's like, $80. Buy something a little nicer. Love to see how you set up your studio. What do you think about the microphone Shure MV7 for a podcast studio. Not familiar with that microphone, at least it's not ringing a bell. Let me look it up real quick. Shure MV7. Okay, yeah, that's that newer microphone. Yeah, that would totally work. Now that I see it, I remember ePost Vox did a video on it. So yeah, that would totally get the job done. As for the studio setup, I've done a couple of videos on that. I will be doing sometime before the end of the year a full studio tour of the building here and what we've got going on, just to give some people some ideas, hopefully. Will you review the Ninja 5 Plus? Maybe not. But I'm still loving my Ninjas, and I don't do much 8K. So yeah. All right. Sorry if I'm squinting. I'm getting way too old to stay up late, and last night I was up late and got up at my normal time this morning, and yikes, I'm paying for it. Apparently, hello 30s, goodbye, staying up late. All right, so this is jumping around on me a little bit. Let's see. I bought 3 F&V 1x1s, K4000s. Wow, that takes me back. And want a large softbox. Do you know of any? So 1x1 panels are tricky because softboxes that are built for them usually aren't big enough, in my opinion. So I would recommend using a sheet of diffusion, some what's often called scrims or 4x4s, and then you put a piece of diffusion on it and have that on a C-stand or something like that. That's what I would recommend. Bounce into beadboard, find some large foam board. That's going to look way better than trying to get a softbox. Otherwise, if you're okay with a smaller softbox, there are like the D something. It's like a pop-up thing that goes on 1x1 panels. I'm trying to remember what that's called, but yeah, that would do it. All right, Justin Brown, good to see you. Primal Video, great channel. Check him out. Are weighted blankets okay substitute for sound blankets? That's a good question. Like weighted, you put on yourself and it's feel the weight, if that's what you mean, like sleeping weighted blankets. That's a good question. There's mass there. I doubt it'll be as good because the mass is probably a clay and it's not like just heavy duty tons of fabric mass, but you could try it for sure. Okay, Malty. Any tips for filming people with different shapes of skin color, different shades of skin color? Yes, you bump up the exposure a little bit. So I'm a pasty, white guy. Hopefully I don't get demonetized for some reason for saying any of this. So it doesn't take a lot to get this to a good exposure. Now, if I was a gorgeous black man, I would need to potentially bump up. So I think, I'm trying to remember, I looked into this a while back because I've, filmed all different types of people, Caucasian, Asian, all these different skin tones will react differently to light. So I want to say like 3 to 5 IRE if you're using like a waveform monitor, or, do some tests, right? So if zebras, using camera zebras on my skin needs to be at, let's say 50, maybe it's 55 on someone with darker skin. So that's kind of what you want to go for to get your exposure correct. Great question though. Let's see. Oh, Grumpy Penguin, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Spry End, super chat, 10 euros. Hey mate, quick questions. I want to live stream with my Sony. However, it does not record my sound from the mic. Only when I press record on the camera. Is there any way to bypass it? Weird. Depending on your Sony, there might be a setting in there where you can only record on the HDMI output. Check your HDMI output settings. That's very strange. That's odd. Let me know what camera you're using too. That's a wild one. Sorry I couldn't help more, but thank you for the donation. And yeah, definitely check your output settings. Maybe audio settings, but that's a funky one. Weird. Definitely let me know what camera you're using. Any thoughts on the Manfrotto 608 Nitro Tech? I haven't really used them much. I've played with them. They seem really nice. I got nothing against them. I personally would probably just go for a more normal video head. But yeah, I like the E image. It's a great GH06 is the head I use, and really dig it. Any tips for filming a group of people with different shades of color skin? Okay, not possible to get their skin in every line. Well, at that point, what I would do is find the lightest person, which would probably be me if I was in that lineup, and then make sure they're not peaking, and make sure the darkest skin person isn't, you know, too low when it comes to your exposure. And that's what I would do, is just bounce it out. But you don't want to, you know, expose perfectly for something really dark in your scene, like this microphone, and then, you know, the lightest thing or person in the scene is blown out. What's your opinion on 85mm lenses? What would you personally use them for? I like them for stills. I don't use them as much for video, but, you know, I'm doing mostly YouTube videos these days, so nothing against them. Honestly, I think it's person to person. You know, some people love long lenses and shoot almost exclusively. So if possible, rent, or even better, just get a good zoom lens, a good range, and try stuff at 28 to, I don't know, 135 or something like that. And forget about, you know, set it to like f5.6 and just walk around and see what you like the most. Brandon, hey Caleb, what's the best picture profile for low light capture on the GH5? Does PP even matter? Love your work. Recommend you to everyone. Well, thanks, man. Or photo style, I guess that would be technically on the GH5. I shoot everything vlog 10-bit, no matter what. That's what you want to start with. Secondly, it's tricky, right? Gerald Dunn's done some good videos on this, but most cameras, there's not like one picture profile that'll be better at low light. It's how you expose your footage. So you're almost always going to get better noise performance when you overexpose and push it down in post, versus exposing correctly, or even worse, and you should never do this, underexpose on digital cameras. So overexpose, right? So in my GH5 guide, I talk about the numbers, right, where skin and a gray card should land, so that when you expose, you can overexpose it, pull it down in post, and I've shown examples in the past as to how that helps with noise. So definitely overexpose. Use Vlog, use Panasonic's official LUT, and that's going to be your best bet on that camera, which is a good bet. Fillmore says, just wondering, if you shoot 6K, is there a button or menu setting that after you shoot 6K, it'll automatically downscale to 4K? No, but most cameras that have a 6K sensor or can shoot 6K will record 4K using that 6K. It'll downscale it in camera. So if it doesn't crop in, then it's usually downscaling most of the time. I am back, Nate. Good to see you, man. Great channel, Nate's Film Tutorials. Let's see. I'm gonna jump down here. I'm getting behind, boys and girls. Oh boy. Hello. Do you think to start using GoPro? I'm not sure. GoPro Victor AC is a good one. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I have 4K cam link, A6400. I get both video and audio from the mic. Yeah. What? Oh, in regards to that question earlier. Yeah, that's a strange one. I'm not showing what's going on with that other camera. It's good to see the grumpy penguin. Yes, it is, Travis. I've done that with the dummy battery in my A5100. Oof. Yikes. Good to see you, Sam. Welcome. All right, guys, I am going to scroll down and try to catch up here. If I missed your question, you can repost it. Ivan, super chat, $5, says, is the Canon EOS M still the budget king in the sub 250 range? Thanks, love the channel. Thank you. Yeah, I think so. I should revisit that like hyper low budget realm and see what the lay of the land is these days, because it's been kind of a roller coaster with, you know, everyone getting cameras for Zoom calls and stuff. But I would say that for $250, that's probably still up there. And the Canon DSLRs when it comes to just a decent image out of camera. Maybe the A5100 6000 if they are at that point. But yeah, awesome. Thank you for the donation, Ivan. All right. I'm going to scroll down here, and we got another super chat from Yosef, $10. Hey, Caleb. I'd like to be able to color match my Canon R6 and Sony a7S III log footage using Final Cut Pro. Do you have an educational video on that? I don't, but here's what you can do. Let's see. How could I do this? Canon R6. So one way you could do this, if you're not super great at color grading, I'm not knocking you at all, I would have a hard time with this, is shoot both cameras with log and use something like, what's it called? I'm going to pull up a browser here. Lut Calc. Wow, I can't. Calculator, I think is what it's called. Here we go. This one right here, Lut Calc for calculator. You go here, you go to run online, and what you can do is over here in the left, you can essentially, what you would use this tool to convert one log to the other. That way you would at least have something to start with. So you could, for your record gamma, set this to Canon, whatever version of C-Log you're filming. I can't think they're updating it to C-Log 3, but as an example, C-Log 3. Record gamut, which is your color. Gamma is or luminance. Gamut is color. Whatever that would be in the camera. Then you could say your output is going to be Sony S-Log 3, output gamut, Sony S-Log 3 or sgamut3.cine, and this right here would convert your Canon R6 image to essentially S-Log 3, and you could go the other way too. You could convert the Sony S-Log 3 to Canon C-Log, if that makes sense. And that would help you in Final Cut. You could just take that LUT, pull it into Final Cut. It would get you pretty close, right? So that would be a great jumping off point. Otherwise, you need to have cards. I don't have one on this desk, but a color chart. Both cameras, you'd have to do a bunch of, manual stuff. So hopefully that helps. But that's Lut Calc or Lut Calculator. Great question. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Also Film Convert. I haven't really used Film Convert a lot, but that's a great service that can, convert cameras to match other cameras. Right. Let's see. Roz. What was your first question, Roz? Speaking of LUTs, Final Cut, applying the LUT browser level makes a significant difference to the effect of the clip than applying it in the timeline. Nice. Good to know. Also note that the order of effects, yes, makes a huge difference. Really, really important. Where's your curves and where's your LUT? Because if you move it around, things are going to change a lot. So it's good points, Roz. Right. Let's see. Here we go. Daniel. Hey, Caleb, on your recent filmmaking gear under $20, you showed that LED panel. Is it still it's still unavailable on Amazon? I was just wondering if you had any other recent recommendations. Yeah, I'm really bummed out about that because obviously it'd be great if everyone could just buy that light for $20. But apparently that was a one-time. They only had, 20 to 50 of those. So I haven't seen it come back, but if it does, I'll let you guys know. And I haven't found anything like that. I wonder if it's just an error that they put that there. I'm not sure. I don't know if this is real, but if it is, that would be incredible. Sir Roger Deacon, Super Chat, $5. If you had to choose between Alexa and the Red, which would you go for? Big fan of your channel. If you are the real Roger Deakins, I haven't checked your channel or have no way to see that from here, but you are the best person in the world and I love you. If you're not, or regardless if you are or not, I haven't done a ton of work on both of those. I like probably if I had to choose, I mean, of course, an Alexa would be incredible. Red, I think the workflow would be pretty nice for me personally. I have used Red cameras in the past and really enjoy that. But yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, both great cameras, and I'm gonna have to check out the channel later because that would be out of control. Thank you, $5, Sir Roger Deakins. All right, what do we got here? What's our next question? Do you use 32-bit audio recorders? I personally don't. If I were buying today, I would pick up the Sound Devices MixPre 3. I have a MixPre 3, the original, but they have a new one, MixPre 3 2, and that does 32-bit float. Awesome, love it. I've been playing with the, the Tascam little 32-bit recorder, and it's really amazing. So if you can, do it. But I have the MixPre 3 Mark 1. It's working fine, so I'm just going to keep using that. Sony a7S III. Maybe I should update the firmware since I never... yes, you should update the firmware because they have added a couple things, so that'd be a good thing to do. Let's see. Budget C-stand review possibly in the future from Brandon. Maybe. I personally, I feel like if you go to B&H, or I think they're on Amazon too, the Impact C-stands is kind of like the lowest I would go. They're what I personally use. There are a lot of really terrible, cheap C-stands on Amazon, and I see a lot of people buying them. And I think a lot of people, and myself included when I got started, we buy affordable things, versions of something. We're like, oh, this is the thing. Totally not the thing. So those are thin tubes with springs inside of them, whereas a real C-stand, you notice the second you pick it up, it's a beast, it's solid. So that's what I would recommend. Impact C-stands is kind of my base, but you know what? That's a great idea, Brandon. Maybe I'll just buy the 5 cheapest C-stands, and compare them, because that'd be interesting. If you had existing camera gear, Justin Brown, if you had no existing camera gear, you were setting up a new 2-camera setup for Locked Off Studio YouTube, what cameras would be on your shortlist? That is a phenomenal question, Justin. I guess it would depend on budget, for sure. In a perfect world, 2 FX3s. That's kind of a great setup I would go with personally. If you're not looking to spend that kind of money, or A7S III money for that matter, it would probably be something like, if it comes out and it's good, 2 A7 4s, from Sony. So that would be $5,000 for 2 cameras, roughly, if the price is right when those come out. Otherwise, the A6400, as much as I knock it for being 8-bit, those are great cameras for that kind of setup. Great autofocus. Get 2 of them. They'd match. And that's probably what I would go with. So, fantastic question. All right. Let's go down here a little further. Where do we have? Could not post length question for some reason. Darn. Oh, no problem, Roz. I'm not going to read Jeremy's question, but nice, Jeremy. Trying to stream in Zoom with a Lumix G90 for video and an Elgato Wave 3 mic for audio. Using OBS Virtual Cam. Getting serious lip sync issues. How do I sync it up? That's going to be tricky. Is your audio going through? No, it's not. The Wave 3 is separate, right, from your camera. If at all possible, try to get audio to go through your camera. Start there and see if that works. Usually that's your best bet when it comes to dealing with that kind of stuff. What do you have your white balance set to when streaming like you are now? I have issue with the light from the computer and the screen and the face not matching the temperature of my lights. That's a very important thing to pay attention to. My white balance is set to daylight, or 50... I don't know, between 53 and 5600 to match this light, which is an Aperture 120D Mark 1, because it's still rocking it. And then the screen is pretty close to that. So if I bring up a white browser here, let's go here, and let's just go to google.com, nice white screen. As you can see, it's pretty close, right? So if I go, let's see, if I just hide it, it's pretty close when it comes to the color temperature. So yeah, daylight is probably a good way to go. Check your laptop, set your camera to daylight, put your laptop next to your face, see how it matches. You can use gels, like this red behind me, that's an RGB, that's a gel on the light. You could use a gel to get it to match, and that's what I would do. All right, let's get that out of there. Great question. Let's see. That's a good, yep, got Eric's question. Lewis, love the channel. Thank you, Lewis. Can I use one XLR microphone with a switcher to be able to use Can I use one XLR microphone with a switcher to be able to use on 2 different computers? One Mac for personal, one for PC. Yes. A big important thing is going to be phantom power. I haven't looked into this myself, but I would imagine someone's created a switcher out there, and you should be able to do that. Another thing you could do, if that microphone is going into an audio mixer or an audio interface, you could use a USB switch to go back and forth. So at my house, I've got a PC for gaming, and I've got a docking area for my MacBook, right? So when I'm working, I'm on the MacBook. When it's gaming time, I have a little box you can buy on Amazon that has a switch and a long cable, so you can mount it near you on the desk. You press the button, and it changes 4 or more inputs from one computer to another. So there's 2 cables coming out of it going into each computer. Awesome way to go. And that's how I get my setup like this. I've got a more cheap version of everything that's there, and I can just hit a button, boom. Speakers, keyboard, mouse, microphone, preamp, everything goes over between the computers. So that's what I would recommend if you're using a USB interface for your sound. Okay, EOS R or A7S III. I would say A7S III. The R is getting a little long in the tooth image-wise, but both will work for you. And the EOS R is going to be a lot more affordable. So if that is a camera you can afford, do it. What's your opinion on the Sony F3 regarding image noise looking like film grain? Some folks really think it looks filmic. I love that camera. Actually, I still have it. I've been, I buy some cameras to do a video on and then sell them. That one I can't get rid of, that old F3. If you like it, you like it, and you should use it. I do think it looks, more filmic than a lot of other older 1080p cinema cameras. But yeah, I have no problem with noise unless it's really nasty stuff like we're talking about here. When it's colored and there's like patterns that are really weird, yikes, that's no fun at all. Can I ask what type of video work? Can I ask what type of video work as a career outside of YouTube? What kind of video work I've done? Well, before YouTube, I did corporate documentary. So, commercials, lots of interviews, a ton of interviews. Which is probably why I won't shut up about like this style of lighting or interview lighting or whatever. Although this is not my best lighting in this little space. But yeah, that's kind of what I did day in, day out, and then slowly worked my way toward full time here. Any thoughts on Lucas adapter magic boosters for the Pocket 6K? Would you consider using one to simulate a full frame look? Sure. Yeah, those are a great option. I haven't seen a lot of content on them. I thought about getting one, and I might someday get one just to, include it in my guide on those cameras. But I have no problem with those. The only downside is going to be maybe some optical stuff. The image out of the 6K versus out of a 6K with that speed booster thing installed into it, is that speed booster deal is going to reduce image quality slightly. So definitely look up side by sides and make sure you're okay with that. Have you ever worked on a short film, something we can watch somewhere? Not that I'm proud of, because I've been running this channel now for 10 years, and I stopped doing production work outside of this channel, a long time ago. So the stuff I did before, not wild about. So I don't even know if it's public anywhere. So yeah, that's kind of the answer to that. What about Nikon Z cameras for video? If you have a ton of Nikon lenses and you like those cameras, go for it. Personally, not wild about them, and I wouldn't recommend them necessarily if I was starting out, if that helps. And then we've got a super chat from, I'm terrible, I'm going to butcher this, Juris. And he just dropped a donation. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate that. Let me know if you have a question. Let's see. Hyper low? Not sure what you mean there. C100 Mark II is limited to 1080p, H.264, or 5D, running Magic Lantern, or keep it safe with the S1H. I mean, if you can, S1H is a great camera. I love the C100 Mark II. I don't know if I would the Magic Lantern stuff works great. I don't know if I'd mess around with the raw workflow though. And then Roger Deakins coming in with the unbleached muslin, which is fantastic, definitely. And now I just have to do it. Sir Roger Deakins YouTube. Let's see here. We're gonna do a little research. I have to know. Sir Roger Deakins. And let's find his official channel here, if he has one. Okay. Does he have a channel? Or is this... Oops, it's Sir, right? I can't let my emotions be played like this. I'm not seeing the actual channel. Oop. Yeah. No videos. Feature channels airy. Maybe not real. Unknown. It's a mystery. Holy smokes. Infinity Land. There we go. That's how we use switchers. Sorry about that, guys. Unbleached. Yes. Love it. Okay. Super chat, $20 from I love the Delusionals Arcade. I'm trying to stream in Zoom. Oh, we talked about this already. Right, $20. Thank you, man. I'm sorry I missed your comment earlier. But yeah, the lip sync. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Trying to go into the camera. Otherwise, you have to find some way to delay the audio delay your audio because the audio is hitting the system first and then the visual. Another thing you can do is check to see if it changes over time. If it's always 5 frames behind, you can fix it. If it is constantly changing 10 sec or a second, half a second, 2 seconds, there's not really much you can do because that's all software, if that makes sense. Want to hook up multiple cameras to a single computer and OBS to push out a stream. Should I use multiple cam links or something like the Blackmagic Atem? Definitely an Atem Mini if possible. The more USB buses you start messing with, the more headaches you're going to run into. So an Atem Mini is great. It's just one cable going to your computer, takes care of all of your cameras. Do you have recommendations for improving video quality for live streams at dim lit concert locations? That's a tricky one. If you can't control the lighting, you got to go wicked fast with your lenses. Good news is if your cameras are far away and the stage is super far away, shooting at f1.2 is going to be fine because it's math, science, equations, but long and the short of it is if you're filming at a super shallow depth of field at something super far away, just imagine shooting f1.4 and pointing it at a tree at the horizon. When you barely change your focus, you're not going to part of the tree's not going to be out of focus, if that makes sense. If you're really close, like if this was an f1.2, I mean, you can see right here, there's just I barely move my hand, it goes out of focus. So if you're far away, super fast lenses, wide open, no problem. It's when you're up close that it's tricky because you're constantly having to ride your focus. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, so sorry, I didn't put that up. Stefan, great question. How do you, you can also do that straight into DaVinci Resolve, color, space, transform. Yes, going back to our Lut Calc situation, 100%. If you're in Resolve, you can skip all that stuff I talked about with the creating LUTs to conform or convert things. But if you're in Final Cut and you don't have access to Resolve, then you're going to have to go into LUT land. Good morning to you, good sir, Bailey, from Australia. Nice. Oh, man, am I that far behind? Yikes. I got to catch up, guys. Super chat, £5 from Neil Granger. Hey, Caleb, took your advice and got the Atem Mini. Is it possible to use my Scarlett 2i2 with it? Also, any workarounds for the lack of multi-viewer? Right, so you got the Atem Mini without multi-view. Yeah, I don't know if there's a really easy way to get around that. I'd have to think about that. I know there's little boxes that you can plug all your stuff into and then plug that into the Atem, and then you would have a multi-view. But at that point, you're starting to get into some tricky business, and it might be worth just bumping up to the Pro. As for the i2i, I don't know the inputs and outputs, so there might be a way to feed an output into your Atem Mini. Otherwise, you could still use the 2i2 going into your machine. Use that as your audio source, and then have the Atem Mini be your video source. And in the Atem Mini software, you can control latency, or you can add a delay to match your video. So if it's out of sync, you can bring it back into sync and still use your interface, because that's a great interface, right? So yeah, great question. Great. Thank you so much for the donation, Neil, and glad the Atem Mini's working for you. Love you too, Sir Roger Deakins. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to jump down. We're running out of time, folks, and all these kind people are dropping. Whoops. There it is. James, another super chat, $17.99. Donation bribe for the channel live streams. Thanks again. I am now full-time on technical educational content. Company channel is Dive Into. Nice. The knowledge and depth you share is a game changer to myself and many others. Thank you, man. Thank you for the donation and the kind words, and Godspeed with the channel. I'm going to have to check that out. Dive Into. Nice. All right, we're scrolling to the bottom here. We've got one more super chat. Gear Gods, $20 donation. I just installed LED strip lights for my background lights. For some reason, only on my FX3, I'm getting flickering. I did everything people said to fix it. It's still there. It's not there on my Canon or Blackmagic. What? Is your shutter speed exactly the same across all the cameras? And I'm trying to remember if this is in the Sony FX3, the flicker or frequency settings where you can tweak that. Oh man, I wish I had a better answer for you, man, after such a kind and generous donation. But guys, help me out in the chat. I'm trying to think. Oh, he just dropped another comment here. 25 1/50th switched between PAL and NTSC. Yeah, that might be your issue right there. PAL NTSC. 24 flat. That might be your problem too. Try to get all the cameras to be 23.98, maybe NTSC or PAL, if I'm understanding you correctly. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Man, that's a tricky one. I'll have to do some more research for you, man. Shoot me an email. We'll figure this out, or at least I'll do my best. And with that, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this puppy up, end this party with a nice outro, some tunes, and then I'm going to be headed over to Jem Schofield's channel for another live stream. So if you want to join me over there, let me grab a link for you guys. Great. I've lost it. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. This is awkward. This is the part where I usually get a nice smooth ending to the show. But here I am trying to hunt down a link. There it is. Okay. Good grief. All right. Links in the chat. I'm going to head over there, hang out with the guys, and you guys hopefully. So thank you guys all for hanging out, for great questions tonight. Really, really good stuff. We had Sir Deakins, real or not real. And we'll see you guys next week, same time. And hope you have a lovely evening. This outro's just not working out for me. Let's see. Okay, good. We're good. Sorry, I had something pop on my screen. Thank you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time. And the button's not working. Lovely. All right, I'm going to try this now. Goodbye. Outro, please work.